This is a zero tolerance, 0561. It's based on a Hinderer design, XM18. I've done a few videos on this already, and I've talked about the issues with the knife in regards to grip ergonomics, grip security, versatility of the blade, design inconsistencies, and edge retention issues with the steel. I've done another round of cardboard cutting again recently. That's 4 rounds in total. Significant sharpening and removing of metal, and at best it's similar to HCR 13 MOV in terms of edge retention long term on cardboard, but the grindability is low because it's a high carbide steel, so it's more difficult to sharpen than say ATS 34. Not a great combination. So I had a knife that wasn't very comfortable, wasn't very secure in hand, on a difficult side to sharpen, low to moderate in edge retention on abrasive materials, had a decently thick blade, no sort of big beefy folder, but couldn't be used for heavier prying because the lock would release, as noted earlier. In many ways, just an inconsistent design. So I was thinking about it and I said, well, let's have a look at the actual strength of the blade, because irregardless of all that, I can still check and see. I had a few curious questions, like these thrust or bearing based pivots that everyone is using are not really meant to withstand compressive type loads. They're only meant for axial or radial loads. So what happens if you start doing heavy prying with a blade that has those pivots? Can you damage the pivot easily? Is the handle of this strong enough to support heavy plying on the blade? Well, as it turns out, the handle is not really the issue. I locked the blade in a vise at 1/4 of an inch back from the tip, 1/2 an inch back from the tip, 3/4 of an inch back from the tip. Pried the knife laterally to the side. In each case, when it broke, it simply exploded into fragments. Shattered. On the first tip break, 3 small pieces which I was able to locate. On the second and third one, I couldn't even find the pieces. So in the pictures you'll just see one big piece, which is all I could actually find. The others I was never able to locate. And this to me is another aspect of how inconsistent this is in design. I can't possibly see how anyone would argue that that's sensible behavior as a fail point for this knife in that type of behavior. That's the way you would expect or want the steel to behave, to fragment and break into a bunch of high velocity small bits. Now, to be very clear, I'm not saying that's the behavior of LMAX. I'm simply saying that's the behavior that I witnessed in this blade. And it also explains to me one of the reasons why the edge retention, I think, is as low as it is. It's not simply because of the fact that the edge is overheated, though that's likely the reason. It's also possibly due to the fact that the way they're heat treating it, because the level of embrittlement in this steel is exceptionally high. I've never seen a steel in quite some time just fragment the way that this just blew right apart in little tiny pieces. Again, very difficult to be positive about this knife, and it's clearly an example of design by picture, where someone put together a knife so that the picture of it and the specifications that they wrote would be kind of impressive, but very little checks done to actually ensure impressive performance. In contrast, to say something like this is a Pretium in LMAX from Elliot Williamson of Ferrum Forge. Looks kind of similar when you look at it, but very different in function on all the respects. It does have jimping, just like the ZT has jimping, but this jimping is not abrasive under low force. It just provides basically indexing. You know where your thumb is. As soon as you bear down, you stop moving because you have relatively high traction. All of the points on the handle are well rounded, even inside the handle scales. Clip has almost no printing effect in the hand, and the front of the clip is full round, not faceted, it's actually full round. Comfortable, secure, functional. It is obviously designed to have strong aesthetics. You can see the sort of chip finish that Elliot does and is frequent on his work on both the blade and on the handles. Mill work that he does, which again, while aesthetically striking to some, provides strong indexing. You know where your hand is, and also traction, but it's not uncomfortable to use. There was a thumb stud here, by the way. I removed it because I was regrinding the primary to thin it out a little bit. It didn't actually come like this. It actually had a really nice stone wash finish, but this is now actually reground, so it's a full 0 height, so single bevel grind basically. Very nice blade.